Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Good Reaction Monday to you. We are here on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and a Joint, coming to you from the Lee Company studio. And boy, we are glad to have you with us. What a weekend of sports it was. March Madness, NIT hoops was fantastic. High school hoops, everything. Just a great weekend of sports. The best weekend, and to me, it's the best weekend in all of sports. But I guess we can debate that for another day. But welcoming in my esteemed colleague, Mo Patton. Mo, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Hey, you got to throw some World Baseball Classic in on top of all that other stuff. That's been pretty exciting as well. So
it's been insanely exciting. That only added to the most exciting weekend of sports. I mean, it was like the cherry on top.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun to keep up with that on top of everything else that's been going on. You know, high school basketball wrapping up here in Tennessee. And, you know, as someone south of the border reached out and told me Alabama finishes in March, y'all still playing? It's like, well, you know, not everybody can be as lucky as Alabama, I guess. You know, maybe we should learn from them. I don't know. But
finishes hoops.
That's what someone said. They finished the first weekend in March, I guess March 4th. So
yeah, but you know, when we talked about it, we talked about the length of the tournament and it being 2 weeks, and how, you know, we could certainly play both, you know, boys and girls in the same weekend, and it could be done. But why?
That's kind of where I'm at. And I mean, you know, that's both the plus and the minus of not having worked in another state, I guess. I don't necessarily see anything wrong with the setup as it is. So.
I mean, is it really nice if you can have, you know, if you have both boys and girls teams in the state tournament, to be able to go in 1 week and do it all at once? Sure, that'd be fantastic. But outside of that, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other for me.
Really. I mean, you know,
and honestly, 2 weeks is a lot of fun.
Two weeks of basketball at the state tournament level isn't a bad thing, I don't think.
Come on,
yeah,
bring it.
And unless you work for the TSSAA.
Well, there's that. You know, one of the things that I love about it, and we're going to talk about it in the next segment, so I guess we should probably just wait.
All right.
But yes, I mean, one of the things that I love about it is the fact that, you know, it's not all day long. I mean, yes, is it awesome to be able to wake up and watch basketball from 9 until 10? Yes, that is fun. But if you did that, we wouldn't get to eat crawfish at Champy's.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
mean,
there's
again, there's pluses and minuses,
give and take.
and I have covered the state tournament when it started at 11, and the last games were at like 7:30 or whatever. And by the time you're done writing, you're trying to find some place to go get something to eat, and it's not a lot of fun. It's a little bit more fun this way. It's a little more relaxed, maybe. So
I enjoyed it. We had a blast, and again, we'll talk about it in the next segment. Talk about all the things that happened in the boys tournament, and get some. We can kind of debrief a little bit. Well,
yeah, okay.
So we'll do that as well. But we've got a lot to get to, so we might as well get you some results and today's schedule. We'll do that on the rundown.
Here's the rundown.
TSSAA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
All right, we start with some TSSAA hoops and state tournament action. Hampton downs Chattanooga Prep 53-43. It was Middleton 66, University School of Johnson City 50. Alcoa defeats Brainerd 71-68, and Douglas ousted Giles County 56-42. In state finals action, Fulton downed Haywood 82-52. Memphis Overton was a 69-57 winner over Independence. Hampton defeats Middleton 51-43, and Alcoa edges Douglas 59-58.
In high school baseball action over the weekend, on Friday specifically, Clarksville defeated Beach 7-4 and Centennial 4-3. Wilson Central defeated Columbia Central 8-6. Davidson Academy defeated Waverly 10-0. Independence with a 7-5 win over Riverdale, and Rossview defeated Dyer County 4-2. Magnolia Heights of Mississippi defeated Siegel 11-1. On Saturday, Columbia Academy laid the smackdown on Covenant Christian of Alabama 21-1. Dixon County with a 6-3 victory over Mount Juliet and a 13-1 win over Rockvale. Dobbins Bennett defeated Murfreesboro Central 5-1. Eagleville with a 16-0 win over Community. Loretto edged Florence, Alabama 8-7. Clarksville Academy defeated 11-12-1. Loretto with a 9-4 victory over Muscle Shoals of Alabama. Tullahoma defeated Middle Tennessee Christian 7-1. It was Signal Mountain 8, Mount Juliet 6, and Beach 7, Oakland 5.
Ravenwood down McMinn County 12-2. It was Hardin Valley 11, 7 winners over the Raptors. Station Camp with an 8-1 win over Ray County, and Green Hill edged Riverdale 3-2. It was Independence 9-3 winners over Siegel, and Columbia Central an 11-5 win over Stewart's Creek. Station Camp with an 11-1 win over Upperman, and Warren County down Blackman 18-12. Wilson Central took care of Warren County 4-1. In softball action on Friday, Gallatin with 3 games against teams from Pennsylvania. They defeated Bentworth 4-3 and Fort Cherry 8-1 before falling to North Hills 14-13. On Saturday, Community downed Richland 1-0. Mount Pleasant was a 10-2 winner over Hickman County. Richland 15-1 over Spring Hill, and Zion Christian took a pair 9-1 over Mount Juliet and 9-2 against Spring Hill.
On the pitch, boys soccer action this weekend. Beach blanked Cumberland County 2-0. It was Zion Christian 6, Culleoka 0. Giles County with a 2-0 win over Evangel Christian of Alabama. Valor and Hendersonville played to a 0-0 draw. Lebanon defeated Gallatin 2-0, and it was Oakland 3, Riverdale 0. Finally, scoring on both sides. Siegel defeated McGill Tulane of Alabama 5-1, and Santa Fe South of Oklahoma defeated played to a draw with Station Camp 2-2. On Saturday, it was Woodmont of South Carolina 3, Beach 2. Dixon County defeated Giles County 4-3. Baylor with a 3-2 win over Hendersonville. Overton defeated Hillwood 3-2. Daphne of Alabama defeated Rockvale 2-1. It was Fort Payne of Alabama 4, Siegel 1. Cardinal Newman of South Carolina 5, Station Camp 0. And on Sunday, Station Camp edged Rockvale 1-0, and it was West 5, Siegel 0.
Women's basketball action in the women's NCAA tournament. Colorado down Middle Tennessee State 82-60.
And I'm very sad.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yes.
Tennessee downs St. Louis, just an absolute blowout, 95-50 over the Billikens. Men's action, Tennessee defeated Duke 65-52, and in NIT action, we'll talk about this later, 66-65, Vanderbilt winners over Michigan. In baseball action, Vanderbilt completes the sweep of number 3 Ole Miss with an 8-0 and 7-2 win, and Tennessee falls to 0-3 to start SEC play as they are swept by Missouri 9-1, 7-4, and 7-1. North Florida and Austin Peay played over the weekend. The Governors take 2 of 3. Lost the opener 7-1, but bounced back with a 9-7 and 4-2 win over North Florida.
In 100 miles of hate, Middle Tennessee State took 2 of 3 from Western Kentucky, winning the opener 12-8, dropping the Saturday game 8-4 before winning the rubber match 8-6. Belmont sweeps Lindenwood in 4 games? 9-0, 5-1, 9-7, and 3-0 the Bruins. Lipscomb took 2 of 3 from Jacksonville after dropping the opener 6-2, bouncing back for 10-5 and 10-0 victories. And University of Tennessee Southern dropped 2 of 3 to the University of Cumberland, 7-3 and 19-4 before winning the final game 8-2. In junior college action, Columbia State dropped 2 of 3 to Columbia State, falling 17-9, winning 6-4, and dropping the final game 7-1.
To Vol State.
What
You said Columbia State twice.
I'm sorry. Columbia State dropped 2 of 3 to Volunteer State by those scores. Yeah.
All good.
Thank
Tennessee sweeps LSU in softball action, 5-0, 3-0, and 9-2, while Middle Tennessee State took 2 of 3 from the Blazes of UAB, 8-0, 2-1, falling 10-7 on Sunday. Austin Peay with a pair of wins over Kennesaw State in a 3-game series, 3-1 and 4-1, losing the middle one, 3-2. Belmont with two games against Illinois State. The third one was canceled, I assume, due to weather, beating the Cardinals 4-1 before falling 4-2. Lipscomb takes a sweep of Bellarmine, 8-1, 4-0, and 2-1. Tennessee State splits with SEMO, 3-0, the win for the Tigers, but SEMO comes back with a 9-2 win in Game 2. Thomas More swept Cumberland 10-9, 13-5, and 10-4. And Pikeville took 2 of 3 from UT Southern, 4-3 and 10-2. UT Southern did win the middle game 11-7. In junior college play, Vol State took 4 from Columbia State, 15-3, 18-3, 11-8, and 13-2. In the association, it was the Grizzlies with a pair of wins, 126-120 in overtime against San Antonio, and at home against the Warriors, 133-119. They were winners. In NHL play, Preds drop an overtime loss to Winnipeg, 3-2. And then last night, don't even know if they showed up in New York.
Rangers certainly was not overtime.
No, Rangers 7, Preds 0. But as you said, Mo, at least they didn't score in the third period.
There you go. Yeah. Baseball action today. In progress, Clarksville Northeast and Clarksville. Big crosstown rivalry there. Hunters Lane at Stratford at 4 o'clock. At 4:30, Houston County visits Zion Christian for a doubleheader. Also at 4:30, Clarksville Academy is at Christ Presbyterian Academy. University School of Nashville hosts Columbia Academy. Middle Tennessee Christian is at Franklin Road Academy. Lipscomb Academy goes to Gallatin. Giles County travels to West Limestone of Alabama at 5. At 5:30, it's Tennessee Heat at Santa Fe. Also at 5:30, Friendship Christian is at Trousdale County. At 6, Westmoreland hosts Smith County. Marshall County travels to Columbia Central. Forest hosts Page. Green Hill goes to Cookeville. Hampshire hosts Hickman County. Independence takes on visiting Henry County, and Davidson Academy plays at Lewis County.
At 6:30 tonight, Summertown will make the trip south to Lawrence County, and Summit will be at Brentwood. Community hosts Richland, and Loretta's at home against Hendersonville. John Overton goes to McGavock, and Nolensville welcomes Centennial. Webb School's at Providence Christian. Franklin is at Ravenwood. Springfield is at Rossview, and Spring Hill is at Smyrna. Creekwood goes to Stewart's County, while Blackman is at Stewart's Creek. At 7, Lebanon hosts Wilson Central, and Mount Pleasant goes to East Hickman at 7:30. Laverne will be at Eagleville at a time unknown to us.
You're going to love the schedule later this week. Just wait. In softball action today, Hunters Lane plays at Whites Creek. That's a 3:30 first pitch. At 4:30, Christian Community is at Clarksville Christian. Loretta hosts Mars Hill Bible out of Alabama at 4:30. Also at 4:30, Lipscomb Academy is at Ravenwood. 5 o'clock starts for Frank Hughes at Santa Fe, Giles County at Columbia Central, Ezel Harding at Friendship Christian, and Gallatin at Lebanon. At 5:30, Battleground Academy hosts Zion Christian. Lincoln County hosts Lawrence County. Beach travels to Clarksville. Columbia Academy is at Forest, and Lewis County is at Mount Pleasant. 6 o'clock starts for Marshall County at Spring Hill, and Summertown hosting Wayne County. At 6:30, Oakland is at Blackman. Rockvale is at Eagleville, and Riverdale goes to Siegel. And in women's basketball action tonight, second round of the NCAAs, as number 4 seed Tennessee takes on number 12 seed Toledo. Again, that's a 5 o'clock tip on ESPN2. And in the NBA, Dallas comes to the FedEx Forum against the Grizzlies. That's a 7 o'clock tip on NBA TV. And that is your rundown.
There we go. How about that?
Made it.
We did. You know, it's funny because sometimes those 6-page rundowns feel tedious, but that one didn't necessarily feel so tedious. I don't know.
It moved along. It was pretty broken up, I think.
I think so. Couple things. First top story of the day. When I saw that you put this in, Mo, I was a bit taken aback. Interesting news.
When I saw it in my email, I was a bit taken aback. Yeah, after 4 years, and I found a little while I was doing my sleuthing for my article, Chris, I came across an article that you actually wrote on the arrival at Summit of boys basketball coach Jim Fay, who confirmed his resignation today after 4 seasons. We have an article up on the website at Main Street Murray and at mainstreetpreps.com. So be sure and check that out. But yeah, got in touch with Coach Fay regarding his decision to leave that post after 4 years. 22-8 in his first year and sub 500 each of the last 3, including a 12-20 finish this past year. But just said that the kids needed to hear a different voice, and he's looking at some other things. So want to wish him the best of luck going forward with that. 23 seasons at East Nashville prior to this, 422 victories, 5 state tournament appearances, a pair of state runner-up finishes. So the guy knows his way around a basketball court for sure.
Yeah, Middle Tennessee staple. And
yeah, really is. Really enjoy him, man. He just does it the right way. Good dude. So
be interested to see what he's got in store if he continues, wants to continue to coach. I'm certain he absolutely could. But if he wanted to go into real estate, he wouldn't be the first Summit coach to leave the post and do that. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, we get it. It's but yeah, it's interesting, and I'll be really curious to see where Summit goes.
I think it'll be interesting to watch that develop. They've got an assistant there, Trey Tate, who actually had to step in for a couple of games this year while Coach Fay was sidelined. And do they stay in house? Do they throw it open and see what type of interest they have? Do they throw it open and see what type of interest they have and then stay in house? It'll be intriguing to see how that works, I think. So
no doubt.
You had another top story though.
I do have another top story. That one kind of, is a little short, but whatever. The Titans, they decided that maybe they needed some help in the cornerback room. I think that was decided a while back.
Yeah, I
So
don't think that was a recent decision by
it
any
wasn't the
stretch.
discovery of.
I think that was probably an in-season decision, actually, but
Well, they've got some
just now
help.
getting to address it.
Yeah, they've got some help. And when I tell you, Mo, let me just read you this tweet, and I'm going to read it exactly how it's written, so that you can
Oh goodness,
feel the same way I did.
I'm a little scared.
Not a be-all, end-all, but in 2022, Sean Murphy, bunting ranked 26 on the CB aggregate list. The closest Titan, 63, Fulton, 74.5 versus 58.5 coverage grade. Now, when I tell you that I was so confused what Atlanta Braves catcher Sean Murphy's bunting ranking had to do with Christian Fulton and the Titans, I was not being, I literally, that's how I read it. I was like, what? Because it was Sean Murphy, and then the next line was bunting ranking. It wasn't Sean Murphy - bunting.
Punctuation matters.
And I was so confused at first.
Yep. Yep.
But no, Atlanta Braves catcher Sean Murphy's bunting ranking does not have anything to do with Sean Murphy bunting being signed as a Titan to play cornerback.
You almost got to say Sean Murphy - bunting to make sure that you clarify those, because the bunting really does kind of throw you for a loop there. I mean, we're always thinking about baseball anyway, and then when you throw that in there, it's really, yeah.
It did not help me. No, and it's funny that you say that it can throw you for a loop, because that's exactly what I said. And then I went as far as putting a GIF of a roller coaster. I don't know which way to go. I was like, I'm thrown for a loop here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I can see where you would be. So,
but honestly, I thought it was an interesting signing. I don't know if this is, the answer, but he's 25 years old. He did have an interception and a forced fumble and 6 pass breakups during their last 4 games of 2022 in Tampa Bay.
The last 4 games?
Yep. In the last 4 games, those were his numbers.
Okay.
But I did see, I saw this guy who said that he had texted with his cousin, who's a big Tampa Bay fan. And I know that sounds goofy, but if I could find the text exchange, it's actually pretty good analysis. He just said he was kind of unlucky that, he was one of those guys that gave up a lot of contested catches. Guys that he was guarding just came down with a lot of contested catches.
At least he's contesting.
Well, it's kind of like batting average versus balls in play. It's kind of an unlucky stat. The expected batting average of a ground ball to shortstop is probably like 0.63, but it might just sneak through like seeing eye. And then you've got one guy who just happens to give up 15 seeing eye singles in the season, and his ERA looks like 4.6, but you're like, God, he's pitching really well though.
Right. Right.
So it's just one of those unlucky things, and I think that's kind of where he's been, and unfortunately that kind of fits right in with the Titans. But with cornerbacks like Christian Fulton, Roger McCreary, and now Sean Murphy bunting, I think this, perhaps there's a little bit of depth there. And, the defensive backfield was one of the major issues that needed to be touched on. And Brandon Carthen has now done that.
Mm-hmm. And it probably needs to be touched on more than once, but yeah.
Probably so. But I'm interested, obviously, to see where we go in the draft. But 2, what's the next move? Because it seems like he's kind of, and someone else said this, he's kind of bargain shopping right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were a fan of most teams, I wouldn't want to be bargain shopping. I wouldn't be looking for guys on 1 year, 15, or 1 year, $5 million deals, stuff like that. But with Mike Vrabel, you can win with that. It's proven. He's
Can
done
and
it.
have. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily hate it.
No, I even if it's a short-term upgrade, I think upgrade is the key to the approach there. I mean, let's get better. I don't mind spending a little bit here and a little bit there because one, they've got a lot under the cap, and maybe by not putting too much in one place in mid-March, it'll give you some room to hit that big lick later on.
Well, even if you don't, I mean, if you can just because there's again, you still got to have so much depth in so many different positions. You know,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps there's a way to acquire some draft picks or something like that. So I feel like this is really solid. That he's a solid guy. He's young. He's a little bit faster than some of the. I mean, obviously we've got McCreary, but Christian Fulton is kind of the veteran presence, especially outside of obviously Kevin Byard in the defensive backfield, but in the quarterback room specifically, Fulton's kind of the guy. And so
I think you and I really think you got to create some competition in the secondary.
create some competition. And the fact is that this is a guy who's won a Super Bowl. And you need guys on your team who understand what it takes to win Super Bowls.
Right.
If that's your goal. And it is the Titans' goal, I think, even with what they're doing.
Yeah.
So my guess is, and we have a comment asking what happens with the cap space. I don't think there's going to be a big splash. I think they're probably going to let some other guys go. I mean, Kevin Byard, I don't think is going to be one of them. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's one of them, but I do think there are going to be some folks who are going to find themselves, as a victim of cap space. I don't think they're going to have that one big signing though. I don't think there's anybody out there other than maybe OBJ, but
I don't know that there's necessarily anybody out there.
Yeah.
I think there's somebody already in here.
Well, are you talking about rookies?
No, I'm talking about Jeff Simmons.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, obviously you've got to figure that out, which is a big part of why they've got to find some room. You're absolutely right. But I think they're going to try to get a lot of rookies. I think they're just going to try to fill in depth with rookie players. And Rand Carthen has been quite successful in the late rounds as drafting for the 49ers, getting guys who are able to play out of those 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. So I'm putting my trust, like we said. Rand has a plan.
Rand has a plan.
And
hashtag it. It's ours, though.
Yeah, it's our hashtag.
Be sure and give proper attribution when you use hashtag Rand has a plan.
Get that trademark.
Yeah, I'm going to get that one trademarked. But yeah,
Rand has a plan. T-shirt.
Go for it.
We can throw that on a T-shirt with Rand's headshot on it. Yeah, Rand has a plan.
I love
Rand is the man.
I don't.
Now you're just spitting bars.
Yeah.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry are part of the plans as far as releasing is concerned. I mean, I don't think that Derrick Henry is as valuable to any other organization as he is to this one. So you're not going to get what you need out of him.
All right.
That being said, hey, if you need a backup, Ezekiel Elliott's out there.
Thunder and thunder, huh?
Thunder and thunder. We're just gonna pound you every single day.
it reminds me of that old Marshawn Lynch clip. Hit a guy in his face. Eventually, he don't want no more.
And if you do it for 4 quarters,
yeah. But
like Novocaine, give it time, always works.
Now, at the same time, though, I feel like you kind of already had that with Devontae Foreman. Maybe that would work with a different offensive coordinator.
It would have worked with those two, but we didn't have both of them healthy on the same team.
Well, that's because they didn't re-sign Foreman last year,
which is John Robinson's problem. Not anyway.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
Yeah. We should probably take a break.
We are going to take a break. We're going to take our first break because when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about TSSAA and how East Tennessee kind of took over.
All right.
Stick around. Mid-Tennessee Bond Joint will come back to the Lee Company studio after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Welcome back in to Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yow. He's Mo Patton, and we are in the Lee Company studio. Glad to have you with us here on this Reaction Monday. Plenty to react to because Saturday we crowned 4 state champions in TSSAA. 3 of them, Mo, came from East Tennessee. And raise your hand if you saw that coming.
You know, I really didn't know what to expect. I guess the biggest shock really to me was the Alcoa Douglas outcome. I thought Douglas was going to win that ball game, and you would have a East-West split of the 4 games, as you know, since Independence was the only Middle Tennessee representative to make it to Saturday, and unfortunately they came up a little bit short despite a heck of a start. You know,
twice in a row, Memphis Overton got down early to Region 5 or 6?
6.
Region 6 opponents, and overcame them quite well.
Yeah, pretty. It's almost like, you know, hey, we've got them right where we want them. You know?
It really kind of was. So, yeah, tough day for Independence. I was watching most of that one, and you know, obviously, Jet Montgomery had a great first half. The 3 at the buzzer that was correctly ruled late by Braden Buck. Yeah, fantastic shot.
Yeah, would have given them a lot of momentum going in, but it was clearly late. I mean, I think the good thing, I think the officials handled that well. You know, it's easier to rule it good and then get together than to wave it off from the get. So,
yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, there was no video to review because they don't do that at the high school level. But
well, not in Tennessee.
Well,
which
is the only high school that I'm concerned with, Chris.
Yeah, well, in Tennessee that does, but instant replay is available, Mo. In the NFHS, they do allow it. Do you think the TSSAA should allow it in state championship matches?
I don't know. I don't think it's something, if you're not going to play with it all year, I'm not sure you should play with it in the state championship, because you're asking officials to do something they've not done all year. You're asking teams to deal with something they've not dealt with all year. I think it's a slippery slope if you start changing rules at, you know, in the most important game.
But in the most important game, wouldn't it be even more important to make sure all the calls were correct?
I just think if you're going to play it with human error as a factor all year, you might as well finish it up the same way.
Fine with that. It's a fine argument.
I just think, I mean, that's like in the state championship game, we're going to start allowing baskets to count on a charge if the ball is away before the contact?
Well, if we have instant replay video evidence to prove it, I'm kidding. No, but and sure. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily changing rules, but you would certainly be adding time. You're adding a lot of, just a lot of.
I mean,
Different.
it's one of the biggest complaints about NCAA basketball is all of
Is
the
the
time
last
that
2
we
minutes.
spend on reviews, and I don't think anybody wants to add that element
I
at the
will
high
s-
school level.
and I don't know. I think it is only for stuff like that,
Mhm.
like the end of a half. I don't think it's like for out of bounds and things of that nature, like it is in college. I think you can use it for.
Well, I mean, again, if you're going to use it, if getting the call right is the intent, then I think if you're going to use it everywhere. I mean, there was a play in that Georgia Iowa women's game. No, I'm sorry. In the Ole Miss Stanford women's game late last night, where a ball went out of bounds off a Stanford kid between the legs of an Ole Miss kid, and they reviewed that for a minute and a half, trying to make sure it
Forever.
didn't hit that kid. And I mean, again,
And
if
then added 0.5 seconds on top of
yeah,
everything
which
else.
I'm sure Ole Miss was really happy with that, but they were happy with the outcome.
Didn't
So
matter.
all
That's right.
good. But yeah, I mean, I value getting the call right, but you know, at what cost? So I think either you do it for everything or you don't do it at all. So
Yeah.
that's just me.
One of the reasons that it is just for state tournament purposes in other places is because obviously the cost. I mean, instant replay is very difficult to
Oh
afford.
yeah, it's tough enough, getting video.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And then having a review process with the video and having good video and
on
who's
top
going to
of,
shoot it.
yeah,
And so
it's
yeah, it's
understandable.
a whole thing, as you would say.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, got off topic there, but it was an interesting conversation. I thought it
Mhm.
was something that since you brought it up.
It's something worth knocking around. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of like a shot
That's
clock.
what we
You can
do
knock
here.
it around for a little bit and then shoot it down.
Exactly. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that sounds great, except no.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hampton with their win, I thought the way Middleton had played for the rest of the tournament, they just kind of dominated up to that state finals, but so did Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was going to be a really good game. Turned it out to be. Congrats to Hampton and to Heather Williams, who got a chance to see that team earn
Yeah,
the state title.
what's really kind of cool that she was able to get there for the championship game. I mean, I think when you have a team playing for a championship like that, it's from a professional standpoint, it's important that you be there and that you're allowed to be there. And so, kudos to the decision makers at WCYB for putting one of the best in the business in the building for that game, even though it was a turn and burn for her. I cannot imagine driving from Johnson City to Murfreesboro and back in the same day.
No, that would have been rough.
But yeah, she's a road
And it
warrior.
was what, the 4:30 game?
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
I guess that's about as good of a time as you can ask for.
Yeah, because you don't
Even though
have to
you
get
lose
up
an
way
hour.
early, and you're not going to get back way late.
Right.
But that 4.5 down, 4.5 back, miss me with that.
And then, like you said, Alcoa edging Douglas 59-58 in the nightcap two-way game. Obviously, Douglas ousted Giles County the night before. Thought
Chris,
Douglas was the favorite.
did you? I don't know how much of that Douglas Giles County game you got to see, but I don't know that I've seen as many bodies on the floor in one basketball game as that game had. And talking to John Varlas of the Daily Memphian, who was on with us Friday before the game, he said that's every game for Douglas. And because they just play so hard. And obviously we've seen Giles County enough to know that they play so hard.
Yeah, it was one of those hustle hustle factory kind of games. I mean, it was just every loose ball had 3 or 4 going after it, and
I'm just
Douglas
glad
just
nobody
plays
got hurt.
Douglas plays tough physical defense,
Mhm.
and that I think was the deciding factor. It was a little tough for Giles County to get some good looks at the basket, and then obviously the size advantage that Douglas had certainly played a factor as well. So, but yeah, Alcoa, kind of like Dobbins Bennett last year, really out of nowhere. They draw Pearl Cohn, who had defeated previously undefeated East Nashville and ended their season in the
Mhm.
first round, and pretty well. I say pretty well. It was a good game, but I mean they kind of controlled that game from the start, and then to get to the state finals, it just felt like they were playing really good basketball, and they finished it off. And I, like you said, a little surprised, but not so surprised that I'm shocked that they won it, because they were playing really good ball up to that point.
Alcoa's 3 state tournament victories were by 7 total points.
Yeah, I mean that's something to be said.
65-62 over Pearl Cohn, 71-68 over Brainerd, and as you said, 59-58 over Douglas. So,
And something to be said about winning close ball games, especially in March. You have to be able to,
no doubt,
and that's
yeah.
at any level.
So congratulations to the Tornadoes, and like you said, 3 of the 4 goal balls going east on I-40. So
that just
pretty
doesn't
good year for them.
happen often, does it? I mean, in your experience covering state tournaments, you don't see that happen very often.
You really don't, and it was a little unexpected, I'd say.
But last year, again, Dobbins Bennett winning it last year in 4A, I think it was super unexpected, and it just goes to show that Tennessee has become statewide a pretty good basketball state, from Johnson City to the other side of Memphis. Who was it when the Johnson City played? Middleton?
Yeah. University School of Johnson City.
University
Yeah, I
School
mean
Johnson City, and
it goes from tip to tip, pretty much. Like Varlas was saying on Friday. I think not to disparage Memphis, by any stretch of the imagination, but I think basketball has gotten bigger than Memphis here of late.
How much of this do you put on Power Center Academy types? Obviously the private schools in Memphis, and just maybe the number of programs watering down the the talent level.
That's a good question. Because I mean, even in 4A, again, we talked to Varlas. I'm not sure Overton was considered to be the best team in Memphis in 4A this year, but they, right place, right time, they were able to get it done. But the talent certainly has been a bit more spread out over the years than it was. And you've not seen a Memphis Central or some of those other, Whitehaven. It's been a while since they've been up here, I think. You've just not seen the Memphis mainstays get back up here. Houston won it 2 years ago.
Bartlett was in the finals last year and lost to Dobbins Bennett.
Mm-hmm. But it was Bearden and Dobbins Bennett in the finals.
That's right.
Last year. Yeah, so that was in all East Tennessee. I mean, again, you don't see that a whole lot either. But it's just a little bit more spread out, and I think that's a good thing.
Sure.
Independent spoke to that a little bit after their semifinal win over Memphis East on Friday. That you hear about Memphis and you want to play those guys and just see where you stack up. It wasn't an arrogant thing when Jet Montgomery said it, but we'll play anybody, put us up against anybody. And I think a lot more programs are taking that type of approach when it comes to playing Memphis, because the feeling is the best ball in Tennessee is played in Memphis. But again, feels like it's
Overall,
starting to spread out with
But-
with 3 or 4 state champions coming from East Tennessee, you certainly can make that argument.
and I'm excited. I mean, that makes the state tournament that much more exciting. It would be boring if we went into a state tournament knowing that Region 7 and Region 8 were going to find their way, to the state finals every single time. And that's the Giles County went over Power Center Academy. Not a lot of folks saw that coming, but it made it, and obviously can't use this term, but it was madness. And that's what March is about, is seeing teams from, who never get to see each other on the same court, neutral facility, with a chance, to lift a trophy at the end. And I think it was just fun to watch. It was a great week of basketball from start to finish. We had a lot of fun bringing it to you. You can go back on our YouTube channel and watch it if you need to, but just a lot of great basketball and enjoyed it. So
I think the unpredictability of it really, really adds to it. So
no question. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little NCAA hoops, as talk about SEC big wins for the Southeastern Conference and others. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today returns to the Lee Company studio after this.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
I'm Stephanie Miller from Mornings on Main Street. Join us March 23rd at Bridgestone Arena with the Nashville Predators for Main Street Media Night. I know Devin O'Day will be here.
You know I will be, Stephanie. Plus, you can register for a Predators prize pack. They were going to call it the Hockey Hootenanny, but they changed. So it's going to have 4 tickets and food vouchers. You got to register to win.
We're looking forward to seeing all of our Main Street Sports Today fans, right, Chris?
Absolutely, we are. And we could not do this without, of course, our owner, Dave Gould, and our friends here at Smashville.
Speaking of,
where is Dave?
We will see you March 23rd for Main Street Media Night. Let's go, Prince!
Do I have the wrong night?
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris, Yow and Maurice Patton here in the Lee Company studio. Glad to be with you as we are continuing our Reaction Monday here. It's always exciting. Reacting a little bit to the NCAA tournament. And boy, March Madness has been kind of chalky. Mo. But
it's been a little chalky, but you know where it wasn't
big.
Mhm. I got to get back in my notes here because
We'll get into it.
Uh-oh, what'd he do? Did he drop it on him?
he did. He did. What you got, Justin?
All right, well, I got the question of the day for y'all. Are you ready?
Come on.
All right. Who is the all-time greatest athlete in sports history that has the same first name as you?
Oh, God. I saw that over the weekend, and
Okay. Wow.
So you got a lot more people to choose from than I do, Chris.
Well, I'm curious if you're going to actually go with your first name.
Yeah, and I think I am.
You kind of have to.
I think I'm going to cheat. Yes, I think I'm going to cheat, and once I cheat, then it's obvious.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's pretty obvious if you use your actual first name.
I think we're going to go with Vincent Edward Jackson. Some people call him Bo.
I mean, I would say that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Solid.
For Chris, wow, maybe. Gosh, Weber's on the list.
Ooh, that's not a bad one.
Maybe, and I don't know where Chris Evert would stand.
Everett,
but
the tennis player.
Yes, Chris Evert, the tennis player.
Yes.
As
opposed to Jim, don't call me Chris Everett.
Yeah. I would probably have to go Weber, right?
I think that's solid.
For sure. Up against Bo Jackson's a little tough, but
yeah, I don't think I'm winning that argument if there's a tournament bracket or something.
I mean, fortunately, I had
in the back pocket.
In my back pocket because I'm not sure where Maurice goes with that one. So.
Mo Williams.
Maurice Lucas, former Portland Trailblazers power forward. Yeah.
I mean, that would have been rough. That would have been rough. Justin, what about you? What do you think?
Oh man, I actually didn't even think of one for me.
See, there you go.
Yep, you're right. You got me. Flipped it on the other side.
I'll
go
Thomas.
Yeah, JT, baby, JT. I mean, I'll take
recency bias, but
absolutely, he's a baller.
Hey, what about the track kid from Tennessee?
Oh, what happened? What was his last name? Justin. He was fast. I mean, he was like he was close to Usain Bolt fast.
Oh wow. Then me and him have a lot in common. I'm just kidding.
What was his name?
Gatlin. Yes, Justin Gatlin.
Justin Gatlin. I guess that's.
There you go. That I think that's going to be your best bet.
I'm gonna go with that one just because I would like to be fast, so I'll just live vicariously through him.
Tell you what, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that there's even an option in the NFL. Herbert. Justin Tuck.
Oh,
that's close.
Okay. I still think Gatlin in the track world is probably the better option.
Right.
Probably.
I'm looking at his stats right now. It's crazy. Yeah, his first name. If you say athlete, if you Google athletes named Justin
Gatlin
comes in first.
So there you go.
That's what I will take.
Chris, I was looking back at my notes, and now my
glad you found
my final four is still intact.
Nice.
I think mine is too. Houston, Alabama, Kansas State, and UConn. Now, one of ours is not going to be intact after this weekend.
Yeah.
Because UConn and Arkansas will play one another.
Mm-hmm.
But and then that'll be a great game. After watching Arkansas just, fight to the bitter end and pull that out against Kansas. It's now, by the way, it's been announced that it's now Kansas. Yeah, the name has been changed.
Good for them. Good for them. We've taken your state. Yes. Yeah, I like it.
It is now henceforth known as Kansas.
Kansas.
But yeah, I thought it was a really interesting weekend because Arkansas, with the big win, Auburn in the first half about knocked everybody out. But Houston coming back and getting the win on the road in Birmingham. Yes, Samson.
Yeah.
Houston kind of got screwed, man. Like, not only did they get screwed in that draw, but the rest of their bracket is compared to everyone else's.
Yeah.
They kind of got really screwed because of the top 5 seeds, they are the only ones that still have their 2 seed. I'm sorry, no. You've got the 2-3 in the West with Gonzaga, UCLA, but 2 seed Texas, 3 seed Xavier, and 5 seed University of Miami, who they have to play in the Sweet 16 to start. I mean, that's the best regional left. See,
well, I think there's a little anti-Kelvin Sampson out there. So I think that there are some folks that aren't too bothered by Houston having a little bit tougher road maybe than some other folks.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily Houston's fault that they have a tougher road. I don't think it's, I mean, just the fact that chalk held.
Yeah.
I mean,
as opposed to the East
for them. As opposed to the East, where you've got 9-4-3-7, or Alabama, which has a 15 seed who doesn't have a coach. But I don't know how you. Never mind.
This East bracket, like you said, 9-4-3-7. That's pretty amazing,
and was almost 16-4-3-7. I mean, that's nuts. Only the third time in NCAA history, men's or women's, a 16 seed beats a number 1. But we said it. We told you. We every one of us.
Yeah.
We told you that if there's a vulnerable one, it's Purdue.
It's Purdue.
Now, did I think that the 68th team to get into the 68 team tournament was going to beat Purdue? No. Did not see that coming.
You know, I did not realize just how significant FDU's win was initially. And I'm reading that they did not win their conference regular season or their conference tournament. And I'm like, what? Huh? And then I realized Merrimack is transitioning from D2, so they weren't eligible. I'm almost thinking if you have someone win your conference tournament and they are not eligible to represent your conference, maybe you just don't get to send anybody. Because no, I mean, obviously,
well, then you're not going to allow those teams in.
Well, and that's up to you.
And see, the Ace,
for one thing, I'm not sure it makes sense that those teams aren't eligible.
Well, and we had this discussion with Bellarmine last year, and same thing in the ASUN play. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. But the idea, basically, they're just trying to keep teams from transitioning up because they have a good 4 years, a really good class of 2 or 3 years, and then going back down. But I think if you go down, you should have to sit, but not if you go up.
Well, I think if you are able to come up and be successful, then why would you discourage that?
It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, FDU was I guess that's how they determined it, was they were the highest net team from the conference. Now, this conference,
well, they played in the finals of the conference tournament.
Well, I guess it depends on how, what their rules are, because Jacksonville State went to the tournament last year because they were the regular season champion. but some conferences, might use, highest rated net team, or they might use the team that, lost in the finals or whatever, which is what apparently happened here. But congrats to Fairleigh Dickinson and a big win over Purdue. And then,
and what's crazy is, their coach was talking all week. In fact, Matt Painter apparently in the post game talked about how disrespectful it was. Their coach said, hey, the more I look at this Purdue team, the more I feel like we can win this game.
Which is insane considering that to me, they're the smallest team by height. And Purdue was a kind of a pounded inside team.
To a 7-footer.
Yeah.
A 7-foot All-American.
I don't think if I'm a coach, I'm looking at that team going, okay, we can compete with them.
He didn't say anything about competing.
He said win. No, I'm saying I don't even think I would have said compete, much less win.
Well, he knew his dudes, apparently.
He must have. So
and if I'm Matt Painter, I'm just saying hats off and getting out of there as quick as possible.
No kidding. And then obviously FAU with the 1-point win over Memphis
that was brutal.
Yeah.
That was brutal because on that loose ball where they had to tie up and Memphis is trying to call timeout, got two guys calling timeout, and the official doesn't grant it.
Yeah, it was a controversial ending, to say the least. I thought they were calling timeout with possession as well. But who am I and what do I know?
Well, you don't know as much as those officials, apparently.
Clearly. Because look, two officials were looking right at it, and neither of them gave him time. So maybe they didn't feel like he had possession.
I'd love to hear an explanation from the officials.
I'd love to hear a lot of explanations from officials, and I wish that they had to face media after the games like the coaches and players do. But that's another story for another day.
It is.
We do need to take a break, but I do want to mention this stat before we get out of here. Speaking of Florida Atlantic, 8-0. Conference USA in postseason tournaments right now at this moment are 8-0.
And each of those teams is headed to the AAC.
But that just speaks to how good this conference really was all year long. They deserved a second bid. We said it. And not just because the bid probably would have been UAB. We've said it all year. This is probably the best mid-major conference, or at least it's definitely the best the Conference USA has been in 15 years.
And enjoy it.
Yeah, because this is it. They're all going to the AAC. And the AAC next year is going to be lit. It's going to be fun. Memphis, UAB, Florida Atlantic. Give it all to me. Give it all to me.
Memphis and Florida Atlantic should be a lot of fun.
Take it. Penny's going to take it all out on the next year. Oh, man. Yeah. All right. Let's take a break.
And their new coach.
Yeah. Whomever it may be. Blake Lovell joins us right after this in the Lee Company studio on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Y'all stick around.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris, Yow and Maurice Patton here with you on this Reaction Monday. Glad to be joined by Southeastern 14's Blake Lovell to talk a little hoops in the SE or around the SEC, as the conference still has 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, and one particular team that we are interested in still playing in the National Invitational Tournament, and that is the Vanderbilt Commodores. Blake, welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys as always. Yeah, it's been I thought it was a pretty good NCAA tournament first weekend overall for the SEC. A couple of missed opportunities out there, I thought, with Missouri and Kentucky, but yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt marches on, and Chris Lee and I were just talking about this game a few minutes ago. That's a fun NIT game. I know people will just say, oh, it's NIT, but that's a great matchup with Vanderbilt and UAB on Wednesday.
Oh, can't wait. Trust me. Cannot wait. It's exciting. Jelly Walker versus Jordan Wright is going to be fantastic to watch. This is going to be a really fun game. And if you're not planning to be at Memorial, well, you probably should. It's Wednesday at 6 o'clock, I believe. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But how they got here, Blake, was awfully interesting, considering that with a minute to go, they were down 9.
I mean, they just keep finding ways, right? Like, that's what I said on Twitter. Like, they just sometimes I don't know how they do it, but like they just do. And I think it's, when you consider this team now has only lost 2 games since February 1st. And, again, let's all remember that's coming off a 57-point defeat to Alabama. And what have they done since then? I think they've, been one of the hottest teams in the country, essentially, when you look at what they've done. And yeah, to rally the way they did against Michigan, I think it's just this team just has that mindset now that it's completely flipped from where they were earlier in the season. Like I think they go in just knowing they will find a way. And that's just continually what they do in these kind of big type games like that. So
I didn't get a chance to see that game Saturday, but I got a chance to listen to the tail end of it as I was scrambling to try to get to Murphy Center. But, they're down 65-60 inside of a minute left and created, 3 straight turnovers? I mean, for all of the scorers that they've got on that team with Mannion and Wright and some of the other guys, they can lock you up when they have to as well.
Yeah, I think that's been the underrated aspect of how they've got to this point. If you go back and look at some of those games, now remember some of their defensive stats, and I know people might think this is crazy to think about, but like some of their defensive stats got pushed really far in the wrong direction just off of that Alabama game. Like because they gave up 101 points to Alabama, and they had a couple games where they weren't playing great defensively kind of in that stretch. But now I think you look at what they've done over this past, like I said, really, guys, almost 2 months now, essentially, and they have been a lot more consistent on the defensive end of the floor. They're not a team, if you go back to early in the season, that was turning people over a lot, but now, like you just said, if you look at some of these recent games and kind of their ability to kind of add a little more pressure, force a few more turnovers, may not be, Alabama level or anything like that, but they're still going to force some turnovers. And I think that's been the biggest turnaround. And think about this too, right? They've been doing this since March the 1st without Liam Robbins, the SEC's Defensive Player of the Year. And to me, that's even more impressive. So
is that a less is more kind of thing, Blake? Or what is, how?
I know, right?
As versatile offensively as Liam Robbins has been for this team. You kind of felt like that was really going to kind of be their death knell, particularly on the offensive end. How have they made up for his absence?
And I'm curious too, and I'm thinking out loud here. I couldn't tell you the exact answer on this part, but you just mentioned the turnovers. I think how they guard has to be a little different now. If you just go to the defensive side, right? Because before you had to put pressure on teams, but you also knew that back there you had a guy like that, okay, let's say they drive around us. Well, we've got a guy in there that's probably either going to impact, he may not block the shot, but he will impact something once they get in there. And I wonder, okay, well, we know we have to kind of turn the pressure up a little bit now, maybe try to get a few more steals because we don't necessarily have that. And that's, not to knock Quentin Malloy-Brown or anything like that, but it's a different scenario now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there is something to that, but on the offensive end, I mean, I think it's just, as we say, March, your guys have to step up, like the dudes, right? That's the phrase. The dudes got to step up, and like their dudes, Lawrence, Mannion, Wright, like they've stepped up. I think Colin Smith's played well, so I think they're getting a lot more, knowing that's what they had to do once he went out. If they were going to have this kind of run, they had to do all these things to do this, and they just so happen to really be executing it quite well. So.
Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Blake, not only are they without Liam Robbins, they are also, by choice, without Miles Studi.
Yeah. I mean, think about that too, right? Like you take away someone who I think, going into the season, if you were going to say, all right, where's he going to help us the most? I think it's pretty clear. It's going to be someone that could knock down shots from outside. And, like you said, he decides, I guess, was before the Yale game. Let me just, I know, I don't know if you guys talked about this, but the way Jerry Stackhouse handled that, I thought was as well as I have seen anybody ever handle a transfer situation. I don't want to say I was blown away because that's Jerry Stackhouse. He's not going to hold it. He's going to tell you what he thinks. But I thought any other coach in the country, if you want to kind of see how to handle a situation like that, I think that was a masterclass on how to do it. So
and I think, Blake, that's because he's a former player, played at a high level, probably saw some guys that kind of got stuck in some situations, that kind of thing, didn't necessarily have the option of getting somewhere else. I mean, players coach, go where you can play, man. And it's all love.
The rules are a lot looser now, right? Where you can actually move around easier. And so why not? Why wouldn't you? Yeah. So I just thought that was great. So
and we're going to coach who's here.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
A lot of luck coming from his Friday night dinner, Mo.
Thursday
night dinner.
But yes, apparently it was the check-in at Champy's that did it for Stack. Right.
Yeah. As I was watching this one, there was a stat that Jerry Stackhouse scored 15 more points in his NBA career than Juwan Howard, which that was kind of funny.
That was a great stat. I saw that too.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. But this is a team that's doing a lot with guys that are out, and another team from this state is also doing a lot with a pretty significant player out, as Tennessee, surprising a lot of folks, making the Sweet 16, defeating Duke. Are you as surprised as maybe some other folks are, Blake?
Pretty simple, yes.
I am too. I'm shocked, but here we are.
Here's the thing, right? Like, I think, and I said this, like Chris and I did our preview for the Duke game, and as you would expect, both of us said, if you really want us to say, who are we leaning towards in this moment after seeing the way these two teams had played in game one and also seeing the way these two teams have played over the past month, how could we not have a feeling Duke was going to win that game?
Sure.
But I also think you look at this, and sometimes in the NCAA tournament, there's another team that in the SEC that's had this same situation before. If you guys remember back, Auburn, it was several years ago, the year they went to the Final Four, the New Mexico State game was essentially their toughest game of the tournament. Game one was the toughest game where they didn't look great in game one. They just did not look great at all. It took a a sort of botched inbounds play from New Mexico State, which of course Chris Jans was there at the time, and to escape somehow in that game. But I said, look, maybe for Tennessee, they've had some ugly games down the stretch. Like, there's no other way to put it. But in the NCAA tournament, knowing everyone's, I'm sure there were a lot of people saying, you know what, I think Louisiana's going to win this. You can't trust Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. They don't have Zakai Ziegler. Why not? Let's go all in on Louisiana here. And they almost did it. But just to get that game out of the way, and then I think something else that I have underestimated, especially in this NCAA tournament, and I think Arkansas is a good example of this too. I think sometimes we see the SEC all year long, and we're like, man, these games are so physical. These teams are so physical in how they play. There's so many free throws, so many fouls. But I think sometimes we don't realize when you take an SEC team outside of that and they play another team who's not used to that, it can be a huge, huge difference. And that's exactly what happened with Duke. I know people will make all their comments about Tennessee and, oh, how do they get away with this and how do they get away with that? If you're asking me, you're coming to the wrong person, because I've always been the person that said, when guys get fouled hard these days, we always want to go to the monitor. And it's just because it's a hard foul. Well, I mean, come on. Like, I get it. Like, don't intentionally try to hurt someone, but like hard fouls are a part of
contact
basketball.
sport.
Yes. If you don't want contact, you can't play basketball, because you're going to get fouled, and there are going to be hard fouls, because, I was certainly not a Division I college basketball player, but my motto was always, I'm not going to let you score. I will foul you, and I will probably foul you hard, because I don't want to get dunked on and I don't want to get scored on. So
I'd 3-point plays aren't a thing for me.
Well, and just for reference, guys. So and I'm not going into my history here, but Tyler Smith, of course, who was at Tennessee, played at Giles County. I'm sure you guys remember him well.
We saw him last week, actually. So, yeah.
There you go. So, because he's coaching somewhere now, isn't he?
Giles County.
Giles County. That's it. Okay. So I was like, I knew he was somewhere. I couldn't remember if that was it or not. So, it's one of those situations where, like, I found myself in I had a turnover, right? And I threw it, and all of a sudden I'm staring down the possibility of getting dunked on Giles County by Tyler Smith. I'm like, that ain't happening. So I foul him hard. He goes into the stands. And I'm like, oh no, I've just ruined this Division I prospect's entire career. But he got up. And my point is on that is, like, I think we make so much about Tennessee and the physicality. We don't, but I think there are people on the outside are like, how do they get away with this? They're just playing hard-nosed basketball, and that is their motto. We are not going to let you get anything easy. And I think that can be underestimated when you get into like a tournament setting, right? Where you're looking at a team. Duke, I've said all year long, the ACC has not been great. Congratulations to Miami getting there. I didn't think people were giving Miami enough credit, but the league as a whole was not great. And it was not just an overly physical league. So perhaps I underestimated Tennessee's ability just with how they play to make this kind of run in the tournament, because it's really hard for teams to adjust to. And like I said, I think you say the same about like Kansas against Arkansas. Those kind of teams that really get physical like the SEC does, you can still go somewhere, even if the overall consistency, the offense, and all that's not there. Tennessee's the kind of team that can still make a run to a Final Four, I guess, just because they can make it a grind for 40 minutes, and some teams don't want to do that. So,
Drake, you got to tell us now where you played high school ball.
So I was at Cheatham County, and so so that was, gosh, like I said, Tyler Smith was there at Giles County at the time, and I mean they had a good team even beyond Tyler Smith. Like, there were some other guys on there I know went out and played somewhere. But so that was, I guess that was my claim to fame, is a regional game where I threw the ball at Tyler Smith and almost ended his career.
But you didn't get dunked on.
But I didn't get dunked on. And you know what? Euros Plastics, not going to get dunked on. He's going to do the same to somebody to make sure he doesn't get dunked on. And I think that's kind of the point. It's like, I just think that's Tennessee style. And how far it gets them, I mean, we'd be lying, right, if we said that the bracket hasn't opened up a bit for the Vols right now. So.
Well, it's funny. The last time that Tennessee made the Elite Eight was 2011. Started with a 3-point win over San Diego State and ended with a loss to Michigan State. Now, it could happen again. I mean, Michigan State's right there. So, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I would love to see a rematch with Sparty and Elite Eight to get a chance to, as a fan, to to avenge that loss. It would be pretty cool. But Tom Izzo and Rick Barnes going at it, man, talk about exciting.
Yeah. I mean, this Florida Atlantic matchup, I know you guys probably already looked like it's. I mean, I know a lot of people have opinions on the way the game ended last night. And knowing Dusty May a bit, I think that he will take care of that. But I also know that he understands the challenge that they're about to walk into against Tennessee, which I know everyone's talked about the comments he's made about, the Australian rugby rules and all of this. That's not going to sit well with people, and I get it. But I do think, like you guys have talked about too, in Conference USA and just kind of the success, and man, that's a good team. Like they don't get here unless they have done a lot of things well this season, and to win 33 games. And I think Florida Atlantic's the ultimate. If you're looking for a team that can win games in March, they don't really have many weaknesses, and there's just not that one identifiable area that you just feel like you can completely exploit with them. They're not a huge team size wise, and maybe that's one area you can look at. But they still got a guy that's 7-1 in there, and so it's like I just think that they do so many things well that I feel like they're the ultimate. They're hard to game plan against just because I think that they don't, like I said, they don't really have any of those just huge weaknesses, and I think that's where for Tennessee, it's going to be interesting to see how kind of they approach just the matchup aspect of it.
Now, talking about brackets opening up, Alabama feels like cakewalk city, but San Diego State's no joke.
No, I mean, it's like I think the thing for Alabama we've not talked about enough, which I think just we fall in love with the offense of Alabama and just knowing that any night they can put up 85 points, and they did it right against Corpus Christi or whatever. Like Brandon Miller didn't need a single point, and they still scored 96. And everybody's like, well, that's a 16 seed. Well, yeah, I saw another 16 seed win a tournament game this year. So I don't think we can just use that excuse. Like, we've got a 15 seed as well in the Sweet 16. So it's, yes, like I think San Diego State is just this is the ultimate, this is defense on defense. Like these two teams are really, really good defensively. And I think that's why this will be a bit of a grind for Alabama. I don't think they'll get a lot of easy looks in this game. And so it will be interesting to see if they're hitting shots. I think sort of the myth of Alabama, live by the three, die by the three, that was probably more applicable the last couple seasons, but I don't think that's the case this season. I think that they've proven, yes, they're going to shoot a lot of threes and they're probably going to hit a lot. But even when they don't, they just got a lot of other ways they can score now. They can get to the free throw line. I was kind of pointing out, even in some of those games, I want to say that first game against Auburn, it's, everybody's like, well, they got to hit a lot of threes to win this game. Well, they went 23 of 28, I think, from two in that first game against Auburn, shot like 82% from two or something. Like they have guards that are quick, as we know, they can get to the rim. But man, San Diego State they're a tough team. And I think that you just kind of look at what they could present for Alabama. It does kind of feel like, all right, I think if they can get past this one, my expectations are probably going to play Creighton, which I think Creighton's another team that may not be getting enough love because they looked really good early in the season, lost Kalkbrenner. But now that he's back, I mean, they're clicking too. But I think this one, I feel like this game presents more challenges for Alabama than a potential Creighton game would. So,
well, Alabama fans seeing Creighton in the Elite Eight,
yes,
may have some flashbacks and may not ever want to think of it, but. No. That's neither here nor there. Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 at the Blake Lovell on Twitter. Blake, thanks for taking some time with us today, man. It's going to be a great week leading up to the Sweet 16.
Always enjoy it, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, Mo, it's funny because someone mentioned that it's hard on Twitter that there could have been in Madison Square Garden, it could have been Purdue, Duke, Michigan State, and Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, they got Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Kansas State, and at least Michigan State.
Yeah.
So
1 out of 4
folks at Madison
bad,
Square Garden are just like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Because
this
Because how many people are Florida Atlantic fans, right? Who's coming up for that? I mean, they'll have a contingency there, but it's not going to be full.
Well, I mean,
full up like it would be if it were
what did Chip say their arena holds? 3,000 and some change?
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah.
So
I saw some folks asking who Lane Kiffin will be rooting for in this one.
Did see that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what the crowds are going to look like. I think Kansas State, Michigan State will be a pretty good crowd. I'm really interested to see Joe Rexrode finally being in the building with Michigan State again. So that should be fun following those tweets.
I'm sure he's looking forward to that.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get out of here, we've got a couple of minutes left. Talk a little baseball. You mentioned that the World Baseball Classic semifinals are tonight to see who, or a semifinal, to see who Team USA will play.
Right.
It's Mexico and Japan. It's going to be a heck of a ball game. And you know, like you said, it has been super exciting, man. This World Baseball Classic particularly has been really intriguing. I mean,
it really has been, and I think the U.S. has kind of helped with that intrigue just with the team they've put on the field. I mean, Adam Wainwright early last night looked awful defensively. And I mean, how he worked out of that bases loaded, no out situation to start the game and gave up just one run, I'm not sure. I guess he's a wizard. But, I mean, he created a lot of that himself with a couple of balls that he didn't feel. I mean, he threw a ball up the line later on. I don't know. St. Louis fans got a lot to look forward to if that's the way he's going to field his position all year. I guess he's going to strike everybody out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. If Japan beats Mexico tonight, then you get Ohtani versus Trout.
Yeah, exactly. And Roki Sasaki, the 21-year-old phenom, you know, holy crap, this guy's been just sensational.
Yeah, gas.
Yeah, straight gas, averaging 100 miles an hour on his fastball, and then you've got. You know, it's wild that Venezuela and Cuba, which I know obviously they were in the USA's bracket, but Mexico still hanging around, kind of a shocker for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the U.S. wants to see Mexico again because that's the team that beat them in pool play.
It's the one team that beat them in pool play. So I mean, this has been, and I know we've seen some injuries and there's all that goes into that, but this has been fun to watch. It's been a unique experience, and you get to see that baseball is not just an American sport.
Well, and you know, watching the players, man, tells you that it's important to them. And so the injuries just kind of come with the territory when folks start talking about we shouldn't play it, we should move it, this, that, whatever. The players are having fun. And
that's the key.
And it means a lot to them to be there. I mean, you know, Trey Turner hits that grand slam in Saturday's game, and he said it's the biggest home run he's ever hit in his career. And it's in an exhibition game, you know. Come on.
I forgot who it was. I think it was Grant McCauley. I don't remember who said it was. Still had time to rename my Marlin Park Turner Field. It's not too late.
Nice.
But if you're not watching the World Baseball Classic, you absolutely should be. Looking forward to the semifinals and the finals, and then of course baseball season right around the corner.
Literally,
we're 11 days away from minor league opening day in Nashville.
I'll take it.
Heck yeah, I'll take it. And it's, you know, it's again deceptively beautiful outside. Sure does look pretty. Doesn't feel pretty. But Thursday, the high is 75, Mo, and this weekend going to be 72 and sunny all weekend long.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Perfect opportunity to have a great weekend, and we're going to get you there all week long. Chip Walters tomorrow, Heather Williams on Wednesday talking NASCAR, Coach's Corner on Thursday, looking ahead on Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, Tennessee playing on Thursday night, so we'll have preview of that later this week, all coming up on Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stay with us each weekday right at 2 o'clock. We'll see you back in the Lee County studio tomorrow. Have a good one.